Hi, it's Alaska Granny. We know that it's important that we have foods in our home, that we know how we can rely on ourselves and provide the things we need. Historically, people always would grow food in the summer, harvest it, put some away for winter. It's just a natural flow of life. Our society has gotten away from that with people are doing this just-in-time shopping or drive-through dining because they don't have anything available to serve their family. Well, there are a lot of reasons why it's a good idea to go back to having some food on hand. We never know when we might lose our job or run out of money before we run out of money. We don't know when there could be some kind of an emergency like the pandemic when we needed to stay home. Then you were reliant on what you had. Nobody was comfortable going out to hunt for food during a medical emergency and a time when we were very scared about what that could mean. We've also all suffered through things like power outages, winter storms, hurricanes, tornadoes. There's all kinds of reasons there could be interruptions in your ability to just get to the store or the store being available. So we don't have to be a victim to emergencies if we plan ahead.
Maybe you're like me and you stockpile the number 10 cans of dried and dehydrated, freeze-dried type foods that are sealed to last for up to 30 years. It's so fantastic to have this food set aside. You can buy everything from beans and rice to fruits, vegetables, pancake mixes, biscuit mixes, even packets that include entrees that you just add water and you can put a meal on the table in any kind of an emergency situation. But what happens when you want to decide to use some of this food? We know this food lasts for 30 years, but what happens when we want to open it? We know that that changes the longevity of how long this food can store. Generally, once you open one of these number 10 cans, it starts the clock ticking and you have approximately 1 year to use that food before it can become stale. Let's look over some ways that we can help that food to last longer so that we can continue to have the best longevity in the food that we have chosen to buy, store, use, rotate, and replace. The number one tool that I like when I'm using these number 10 cans is this swing away can opener. Because it is large size, you can open it all the way up, squeeze it all the way together, and then it has a big handle that you can rotate around so that it doesn't just crunch up your hand trying to twist the can opener. You can use your whole arm to rotate and open the cans. Maybe you have stronger hands than I do, but I love the swing away can opener, and I think it's a must-have for preppers to open the large number 10 cans.
Let's go ahead and open up this can of apples, dehydrated apples from the LDS or the Mormon Church. You can see inside, it looks more full than I might have thought it would be. They all look beautiful. Most of them are nice big slices, but there are some smaller bits and pieces. They're dry and they're crunchy, and absolutely they are very good. They're tasty. The one downside of the food from the LDS or the Mormon Church, it does not come with the plastic lid like, say, the foods from Augustin Farms. I was able to purchase lids years ago, but they don't seem to be available anymore. So when you're opening up your can, you need to have some idea of how you're going to store the rest of it. Maybe you want to put it into glass containers. Maybe you have some Tupperware with a tight-fitting lid. So you need to be prepared. Take the lid off of one of your other cans. You could perhaps store them into clean canning jars or have some sort of a Tupperware or something that's very airtight and has a nice lid so that you're able to continue to preserve the foods that you bought for your prepper pantry. The cans of food, once you open them, need to be used within about a year. So while it's nice, they can last 30 years in your pantry, don't put them away forever because they're really quite tasty foods. So it could be something, they're pretty affordable, they're tasty, they're high quality, and you can go online and buy some more, order some more. They come in a box of 6 of the exact same item, so you have 1 to try and 5 to put away. And that could still be something that works. You have plenty of food for your long-term food storage stockpile. This can likely would have completely filled the 3-quart jars but I was using them today. So that is a lot of apples in the can.
If you have a food saver with a jar lid attachment, you can vacuum seal your jars of dehydrated and dry food, which can help it last longer.
When I buy the long-term foods, many times I will take one of the military-style can openers and I will put it under the lid so that in an emergency situation, is it going to be the easiest way to open the can? No, but now there is a can opener in there so that you don't have to worry about where is a can opener that actually works. You'll have one with the supplies that you need. You can pick up these military can openers very inexpensively in a whole set on Amazon, and I'll put a link to a video I made on how to use them. And the more dry ingredients you use, then the less dependent you are on having the fresh food, especially while things like butter are going up dramatically in price. I think a pound of butter is up to $6. And in some places it's hard to get. So butter powder to me is a good investment. I bought this twice at Walmart. Once I bought it in the store, and then I was able to get one on Walmart online. It's the exact same can. Did you hear the little poof? So it was under pressure, so I think it's going to be perfectly fine and safe. It's definitely powdery. It's very lightweight, fluffy. And it says if you want spreadable butter, you would just add twice as much water. I scoop the butter powder into smaller pint-sized jars, and then I use it right out of the pantry. One thing to notice, though, is these plastic lids. They're not airtight, so I put a regular canning lid on the jar, and then I use this in place of a metal ring. But if you have the metal rings, use that. Don't rely on just the plastic lid because it's not airtight enough and your food can get stale tasting. Scoop it slowly because it is powdery and you can make a mess on the counter. I think it's great. Then I just reach into the pantry, I grab the butter powder jar, and I just measure it out, tablespoon for tablespoon, and add it into my recipes. Tap it down to get the powder to settle, and then make sure that you wipe off the rim so that you get a good seal with your lid. You don't want the food particles in the way. And now I can set it in the pantry and use it within a year, maybe a little longer. I haven't ever had a problem with it not being still good to eat, but it's certainly better to put it into a jar than just store it in the can, because look how much air is in the can. That's going to allow your food to be exposed to far too much air. Milk that I find is very palatable, delicious, and useful. The Nido Fortificado is absolutely perfect for my needs in long-term food storage. Nido comes in a can. It has a tight-fitting plastic lid, but if you open up the top lid, you can see it isn't a sealed up can all the way around like cans that we would buy corn, beans, fruit, and other foods. It has like an aluminum foil seal like you might find on snack foods. You can repackage this into other containers, but make sure you don't use one that ever held something that had any kind of a aroma or a flavor, because that will easily be transferred into your milk. You can also store this in the freezer after you've opened it, and that will help it to last for a long time. How tightly sealed is the Nido milk? I had to pull and finally get a little pair of pliers to open up the aluminum foil type top. You can see the Nido is nice and powdery. It has a thick consistency, it's dense, and that's what you get with a powdered whole milk. To serve Nido milk, you would measure 1/4 cup of the powder into 1 cup of water. Always put the water in the container first so it's easier to stir it up and it won't get any clumps. You can see it easily mixes together. It looks nice and rich. It doesn't have any clumps in it, and it smells just like milk. The first way I like to store the Nido Fortificato powdered milk is in a Ziploc sandwich bag. I can place 1 cup of the powder into each bag, and that can make a quart of powdered milk. I can seal them up, and about 3 of the bags, which would make 3 quarts of milk, can be stored in a clean canning jar. You can store it directly in a clean canning jar. Spoon it in carefully. It's very powdery, so you want to be delicate with it. And then you can sort of tap, tap, tap the jar down to get the powder to settle. Add a little more. Wipe the lid to remove any excess. Put on a clean canning jar lid and a ring. If you wanted to store these, you could vacuum seal it, but just sealing it in the jar is going to help it last. Then whether you want to make a quart of milk or spoon out a little bit for a recipe, you have it in either format. I have a bag I can pull out to make a quart of milk, or if I want to use it in a recipe, I can spoon it out of a jar that it's just filled into the jar.
There are lots of varieties of number 10 cans of food that you can buy for your prepper pantry and your food storage stockpile. You can look for everything from the LDS or the Mormon Church. You can buy them online from them. I buy Augustin Farms at Walmart here in Alaska, but you can also order those online from Walmart or from Amazon. There are other brands as well. Stock up on extra food that you enjoy eating. Find it in this long-term format so that you're going to have the foods that you enjoy, the normal foods that you want to continue to make interesting meals for your family with the variety, knowing that you can open those cans and make the most of the food that's in those cans.
If you have additional tips, leave it in the comments below so we can learn from each other, be able to build up our stockpile of food, our prepper pantry, and then we'll be able to have the best outcome, whatever challenge faces us in the future. And you know what? If nothing happens, it doesn't matter. We can still eat that food. So you haven't wasted your time or your efforts or your money because you're buying things that you're really willing to use. I hope you'll like my video, share my video with someone else you think might find it useful. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.